Welcome to Gray Overload. AMD has announced the 9070 and the 9070 XT, and we have prices. We have kind of what they're going for, and let's talk about that. So the 9070 XT and 9070 price points are where we're going to start, and if you want to know how I felt when I was getting these prices, which was $549 for the 9070, I was about to turn off AMD's stream on this announcement. That's how I felt. I said, you're going to come out with the 9070 at $550, matching the 5070, by the way, of the price point there, MSRP. I was like, I cannot believe AMD's doing this. They're going to have $100 on top of this for the 9070 XT. These cards are not even worth it this generation. Might as well just sit it all out, wait for the next one. I was thinking that as this was coming. I mean, I was that close to turning it off. It was bad. I thought AMD just did a horrible move here with that $550 9070. But then they kind of slightly redeemed themselves and shocked me a little bit. Made me want to listen to the end when they said the 9070 XT was $599, so $600. Now, they had gone through and said that 85% of gamers spend under $700 on graphics cards. Fine, well, why don't you break that up a little bit more of what percentage is maybe underneath $500 that are spending? You know, you have all these cards that are priced here and, you know, where they are, and they've gotten increase of prices over time. It's like Gamers Nexus said. I was watching their video before this came out. Their saying AMD don't screw this up was, you know, 100% of gamers also buy a graphics card underneath $1 million. So I get what they're trying to say, that there's a large swath of gamers, and myself included, that spend underneath $700. I mean, we like to stay underneath 500 AMD, and you're still outside of that range. But $600, I think, is doable. I get, and that's if everything stays at MSRP. If you're going to go above MSRP, I think that's where we get into a little bit or a lot of an issue, and we'll have to see what AIBs do with their graphics cards. Hopefully that there's a great amount at the MSRP, because if they're not at the MSRP, AMD is going to take a lot of heat for this price point, as Nvidia has as well for the MSRPs that are not existent. So AMD has to get that right. On the 9070, 550 AMD, seriously? That should have been really cut down and down in price. I would, you know, if you kept the 9070 at that 600, I would like to see that another $50 cheaper, and you would have put the 9070 at the $480, $470 range. I think would be perfect for this card, especially for getting momentum. I think AMD has to be thinking about this, about gaining momentum. One thing AMD said is that this is going to be like the 7800 XT equivalent, you know, your performance to value proposition. I don't know, you know, once we get final numbers, I'll be able to make a good determination on if that's going to be the same proposition, but I think they lied there. Until I won't go fully there yet, but until we get there, you know, that value proposition is kind of something I've been, you know, keeping in the back of my head as, is AMD hitting this? You know, they came out, what was it, Frank Exor, I think, came out and said that that's what they're trying to go for. I know it was one of the AMD Radeon execs, but where is this? So, you know, some of the things that they changed in this card, right? They said that they want an enthusiast gaming experience in a, you know, better price range is what they're going for. And I do like that they're trying to bring that down a little bit. I just wish that it was in a more, I would have liked to seen that price to be in that, you know, 550 for the 9070 XT, because I think then you're bringing down a big enough jump for where you were at $1,000 down. You know, it was basically the 8 series, right, competing with the NVIDIA 8 series, and you're bringing that performance jump down into that 70 class card fully. And I think that's where I would like to see this, is that full, you know, 30% jump into that next generation from the generation prior. I like to see kind of those numbers would be ideal. But here's where we're at. So, you know, we have, you know, they wanted it more power efficient. They are more powerful in every way, is what they've kept us, we're saying over there. They had a faster command processor. They did a lot of more architectural tweaks. One of the things I liked too was the improved media engines. Hopefully they're much better at their, encoding and stuff there as well. That's something that if you're streaming in, that should see some improvement. And that's what needs to happen, right? If they want to be a card that can go after NVIDIA and that can start taking market share, they're going to need these things as well as a good performance and price metric as well. AMD, according to John Petty Research, is at 10%. They need to get up there. They need to start making some headway and get back into that 30% range. At least back into that range, and maybe Intel can take and have, even if it's, heck, can Intel take a single digit first, and let's see where we build off from there. But then just to try to, make this market not seem like so much of a monopoly of NVIDIA just being able to do what they want and having whatever they want, even with missing ROPs and everything else. So, or even power melting cores connecting, or even just this launch in general has been not great from NVIDIA. So they did improve ray tracing up to 2x, and they showed some stuff in there. They improved the compute unit. They did some ML improvements, so now you have some more machine learning stuff, your AI stuff there. And they even have a baiting tested program now as well that you can do if that's something you want to do. The AMD reporting tools and stuff like that are all built in. And hopefully the reporting tool can be used to get more AMD, keeping on top of their bugs and progressing there. They also kind of mentioned that this is, one of the most refined areas in their whole driver release cycle for their new graphics card, which, it's been delayed for a couple months, so I hope so. Now let's dive into a little bit more about the chips themselves before we hit on FSR. Right, they're saying it's 53.9 billion transistors, so this is quite a few transistors. 356 millimeters squared. It's not MCM like the 7900s were last generation, like I have, and which I'm kind of disappointed in. But it is what it is, and hopefully, with UDNA and stuff, we kind of see that combination. We kind of see those increments of improvement in development going forward. Dynamic register allocation and out of order queuing. So some improvements there to get, more efficient pipeline execution in these GPUs, and more efficient execution overall, right? So the 9070 is going to have 56 compute units. They're saying it's going to have 1165 AI tops, if that's something you want to do AI stuff with. Now, only 16 gig of RAM there for the GPU, and it's only 2.52 gigahertz. But it's 21% faster at 4K over the GRE in total. That includes the ray tracing and the rasterization games, and 20% in 1440p at 220 watts. So pretty, low power consumption on that card. One thing that's interesting is that it's only 2.52 gigahertz. And if you jump over the 9070 XT, which is 64 compute units, 1500 tops, 16 gigs of RAM, 2970 megahertz. So it's about 400 megahertz faster, 2.9 gigahertz. So about 400 megahertz faster. I'm really surprised it's that big of a difference between the two here. It's a 304 watts instead of 220. So, a little bit bigger board power there. But it's 42% faster over the 7900 GRE. I know they compared it to the GRE overall. They did some other stuff, but just GRE there at 4K. And then 1440p was 38%, including the rasterize and the ray tracing percentage uplift. So like I said, I am glad AMD did a great job at doing the testing in native and seeing that result difference, not doing all this, hey, here's 4x frames, all this other stuff. Good job AMD on that. I got to praise them where they need to be praised, and the testing and getting those numbers out without, going through and fudging numbers. I still got to get through all of the footnotes. I've been trying to read through all the footnotes and making sure that they didn't do anything funny. I haven't seen anything yet, but that doesn't mean they haven't done something funny. But just doing, keeping track of all this. AI workloads, there's improvement there over the GRE. So they kind of made sure of that this was an improvement overall over that 7900 GRE, which was at 500 bucks, 550 bucks, someplace like that on the price list. So we're going to see where this all ranks with the 5070, with the 5080, 5070 Ti, and even last generations 4070, 4080, etc. Now you go through and you take a look at the AMD did a little bit of here's the performance against the 5070 Ti at the 9070 XT versus each other, which at MSRP they're $150 different, 599 versus 749. So that's a 2% difference in 4K gaming, where the 5070 XT is a little bit more powerful. So 2%, not bad off. Now AMD did kind of say that overclocking is about 2% above. And if that's the case, I like to see these overclock models and see where they perform. Hopefully they're not at the MSRP of the 5070, but they're, closer. Prices staying as close to MSRP is going to be crucial overall, I think, on these cards. They did announce that these 9060 class cards will be coming out later this year. Who knows when that's going to be. I also did like that they stayed to about 30 minutes of this presentation, even though they said that they would need like 45 minutes during CES. I don't know if that's just because it was a bigger presentation with Lisa or what, but you kept it to 30 minutes here, not the 40 minutes or whatever else that you guys said. So that's the quick rundown of all this. They had FSR as well. I'm not a huge FSR, person that I turn it on. I like the upscaling tech. I think that is one thing that is that can be very valuable is the upscaling tech. I have no problems with that. I understand that side of it. Now, the weird part is having all this multi-frame generation and generating frames. I'd like to see you guys improve the quality of the game and keep that, and even get better upscaling techniques, get better at improving game quality even at native and using more of the horsepower there. I like to see hardware kind of do leaps and bounds and stuff like this and improve there. But I think there's a place for people that want to use frame generation and stuff like this, where as long as they provide it and people want to use it, I'm fine with that. The really interesting part in all this was the FSR 3.1 API. That is now an upgradable API so that you can, from my understanding, and I'm not a game developer, I do other software development, so maybe someday I'll go through and try some of this stuff out. But you have the FSR 4 can be basically plugged in using that 3.1 API, and it can kind of, and maybe it goes as far as determining what cards you have to know which one you use. We'll see. It's second half of the year for all the devs, first half for some of the devs. FSR 4 right now is only going to be on the RDNA 4 cards. Makes sense. You got some of the new ML stuff. You have that new instruction set on there, and I'm blanking on which one it was. But that's kind of the simple rundown here. So overall, my thoughts on this, the pricing and everything else where AMD sits. I won't fully know this and where my assessment of what my thoughts on all these cards are until I see, Hardware Unboxed, Gamers Nexus, Tech Power Up, Kick Guru, all those other ones out there that do the testing. I don't want to leave anybody out. There's a lot of them. Get their numbers back. I mean, I love to test these, but I don't have enough, big enough graphics systems to be able to test this. I have one graphics card, right? I don't have all the NVIDIA cards or AMD cards, even Intel cards to see where they stack up, even though Intel shouldn't be really stacking up in these. But this is one thing where you get that and you'll have a better understanding. If AMD can hit and be, with that 5070 Ti for that $600, I think it's going to be really attractive. I'm going to go just if they're MSRP to MSRP, $150. Now, if ray tracing isn't as close as what I hope it is, right? If there's still a difference in ray tracing, maybe people will say, yeah, I'm going to do a lot of ray tracing games. I don't want to give that up. I'll pay $150 more for the NVIDIA card. Now, if the NVIDIA card never sees the MSRP again, and it sits around 850, and AMD cards stick around this MSRP, I think it's a pretty easy choice. Yeah, I'll go with the AMD card. Now, all these AIB vendors need to be hitting that MSRP. If they don't hit the MSRP at 600 bucks, and they're all of a sudden approaching the MSRP of the 5070 Ti, what use is it, right? I don't think AMD is going to win many people over with it, and I think you're going to have a lot of disappointed people. With the 9070 at 550, that's the same price as the 5070 Ti. It does have to beat it by a substantial margin. If not, this is a poorly priced product from AMD, and you start wondering what was AMD thinking again. One thing I took from this, right, when they priced it at 550, and then they did 600 after my almost turning it off, because I thought that they were crazy of doing 549, is the bill of materials. What is that? Is that so close? Is that got a higher floor than what I anticipated for these cards, and AMD just doesn't have the amount of maneuverability that it needs to get that 9070 lower? I don't know. Maybe that'll come out in some leaks and we'll have some more idea about that. But I am interested to see where those reviews are. We're about a week away-ish or so. Hopefully on where these reviews are. I think some people have said the 6th that these come out with. I thought I got an email today from Micro Center saying the 6th is when there's a release. Let's see. Do I have this email still, or did I delete the email? Or was it a text? Maybe it was a text. Let's see. Was it a text? I'm trying to look at my text here and see if there is one. Yeah, 9070 XT, text 3/6, 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific time. That's when these cards drop. So that was from Micro Center today. I got a text. Granted, if I'm going to Micro Center, it's to drive, but hey, we got a weekish to get these cards, so reviews should be out soon, and we'll see. NVIDIA's 5070 is out soon. There's going to be a lot to talk about, but that's all I got. Let me know your thoughts about these cards below, and we'll see kind of where they are and where the final thoughts and analysis is once these reviews are out. I think that they're interesting. Hopefully AMD can pull it off. I want to see AMD increase their GPU market share. I really do. All these companies, if there's at least some competition in the market with some sort of a semblance of life from them, I think that it makes it better for consumers overall. Right now, it's been a rough launch for NVIDIA. It's been rough in the GPU market, I think, for years, especially for pricing. And I want to see gamers be able to enjoy it. I think there's a lot of stuff you can do at gaming and having these great pieces of art being played by people. And if you don't have competition, it kind of gets washed out where a lot of people get priced out of the market, which is unfortunate. So even with CPUs, we need Intel there just to be able to compete with AMD. So hopefully that happens as well. Or maybe NVIDIA is going to be able to put some money and make an APU that's desktop, or an ARM CPU that's on the desktop. We'll see. With that, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for taking the time to help support Gravity and help this channel grow. I really do appreciate it. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon, as it really does help out the channel, and watch a number of videos because that does help too. Until next time, God bless.